You are looking at the population of cars, global population of cars in the APS scenario under 5 SSPs. And on the secondary axis, we see global CO2 emissions, all from cars. So if you just unclick, control click cars, so you see all road transport vehicles. So I just checked that 6 gigatons is a good number for road transport emissions in the current time, which is close enough. So we have like 6.5 gigatons in 2020. So that's good. You can flip through regions, bottom left. This is Europe, yes. And you can control click to go back to all regions. So what you're seeing right now is the vehicle count, basically. Okay, and then if you want to see energy consumption, then you can, click that. So if you want the emission also, so now you are looking at the energy consumed in road transport. And then we can see cars and heavy trucks separately, one by one. And you can go to net zero. This was all APS. So what else should we try to see? So I think the logical next thing is to see, because this is comparing the SSPs. So what if we want to compare the climate ambitions under a single SSP? So let's select one SSP, control click the, you can unselect all. Yeah, and now instead of SSP in multi, you select climate. And now you can see R1C4 instead of R1C5. So
this is by scenario.
This is by scenario, by the climate ambition. So actually cars don't change too much, because you see there is more electricity, but not a lot more because electricity is already quite economical.
Yeah.
But if
But
you
the
see,
emissions, it's significantly different in the base versus the net zero.
but if you go to heavy trucks, you will see a lot more action. What do you think?
It's very informative, and the idea of having, two axes and to overlap, a line chart with an area chart is always even more informative because we get basically two indicators in the same view.
Yeah, and in fact, you can, I want to include the cost also here. But I'm just thinking whether we should make it so complicated or have the first one without.
That's the critical point. I mean, when we run models and when we design dashboard, we want to uncover trade-off, right? Is a very primary type of goal. So including costs here probably actually gives the idea of the trade-off of this kind of pathways.
Okay, so let me do that. And just to show, let's go back to the capacity view. So just click on capacity and control click emissions. So what else should we try to see here? One thing may be to, because the point is that we like to create a specific layout for a specific investigation, that we have in mind. So for example, if we want to see, you can flip through regions, but if you want to compare, if what is happening in Africa, how is it different from North America, if at all? So then we should put regions here instead of different climate ambitions and see it one region and, one scenario at a time. Let's try to build that view.
So we basically compare by region rather than comparing by enabling factor, like in this case.
Yeah. So let's select one scenario first. So we are looking at SSP1 and let's select APS. Okay. And now let's put region WEO in the multi. So that's what we create multiple views out of. and you can select R2C4 because there are 7 WEO regions, and you undo scaling.
Yeah. And this is for all the modes.
This is for modes.
And again, if we go just for cars.
Yeah, so cars are not very different by region. Well, but yes, that's good to see that Europe has a lot of diesel, which has to be phased out. In Middle East also some. But apart from that, cars don't change too much. But heavy trucks, you will see more differences across regions. Like we even see some hydrogen.
So hydrogen may be the net zero. Let's see.
And when you see these jagged ones, they are actually because of the appearance and disappearance. So if you change this to a stacked bar chart, then you will see smooth
Yeah, absolutely.
lines again. Any other view we can try to make?
Okay.
Well, we can try to see all 20 scenarios in one screen. So we can, so yeah, here you can select climate and SSP, that thing in between. Yes. So that is the combination of all. And now you can select climate and SSP. So we should select R4C5. It doesn't exist, so we have to make one from the matrix, from that matrix in front of this row.
So is this one
Yeah.
basically all style? So 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we can select all of them, so unclick heavy truck. Yeah, that's a nice view actually. And now you can, yeah, so let's see what we see.
So basically based on the top row and the comparison across the SSP by column, and then basically the incremental climate ambition by row. So basically the fourth line is the net zero, and then the SSP again by column. So the comparison is basically both by row as well as by column in this case.
Yeah.
So if I compare this first column, I just get the different level of ambitions of the SSP1. And the same for this one is basically under the SSP4 storyline, the 4 level of climatic ambition.
Yeah, maybe we can do scaling also because it is not becoming clear here that SSP3 has a different emission trajectory. Because although the demand is low in SSP3, but because the EVs don't become that attractive, the emissions don't drop. So you see, even in the first, in base SSP1, emissions are quite low, and SSP4.
Yeah.
But in SSP3, they don't drop that much.
So this is basically based on the underlying storyline regarding transport in these SSPs.
Yeah, so in the SSPs, I have to document those assumptions more cleanly, but besides GDP and population, there are also assumptions on how the clean technologies and CCS and all these things, how their assumptions on their technology learning.
So the comparison by row in this case is entirely driven by the climatic ambition that we are inputting. The comparison by column is basically a multi-factor type of comparison. So we should basically, assess better the social demography behind these things and all the other factors which are enabling the SSPs.
Yeah. And now let's say we want to, just see that how are the EVs, what's the range of their of their penetration across scenarios. So we can be tempted to do it from here, but there is a better way. And that again is a demonstration of what we say, that you should tune the visualization to your question so that you can interpret and not conduct the the comparison. So if you let's do a multi by technology, and let's look at only one let's look at only one metric. So only capacity, and bring the claim SSP as legend.
This claim as, oh, here.
Yes. So instead of tech, you put it in rows and bring the tech down and make a line chart. And to make it, so undo scaling. So now we see a view, so, and let's reduce the noise a bit. So if we select only electric and gasoline and diesel in tech,
From technology.
yeah,
So diesel, electric, and gasoline.
yeah. So we are seeing that basically in all the different climate ambitions and SSPs, the EVs can be from practically nothing to 4 billion.
Yeah.
By 2050. 2050 is too far, but even in 2035, there is a fairly broad range. And now let's see, the cars would probably have a smaller range. So if we see only cars,
Oh, it's still quite relevant.
yeah, it's quite big, yes.
Yeah. And again, these are basically covering all the exploration. So the different climatic conditions plus the different storyline regarding the transport sector under the SSPs.
Yeah, and if we wanted to say that, okay, what is the range only in net zero? So if you can restrict the set of scenarios easily, focusing on any particular dimension that you want.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that, we have 20 scenarios, yes, but there is a very, very intuitive and very powerful way of learning from that set of 20 scenarios, just because there are so many dimensions, but they are neatly arranged, organized, and accessible so that you can build your own narrative.
And the same for other attributes, I believe, actually. We can
Yeah.
plot here emissions, which are, of course, 0 for electricity. And here are basically following.
Yeah, because net zero
net
is
zero.
following, yeah. So it is,
yeah.
But if you look at APS or something, then you might see more variety. Yeah, I think there's, actually this also demonstrates something. We have to bring it to the primary axis. So if you open the unit combo, no, that's
which is the here.
No, not here, in the rows. And you, click and unselect the empty CO2 here, yes, and update. So now it is on the primary axis.
Because before was basically plotted as a secondary axis.
Yeah, and in secondary axis, it is aggregated so that we see something meaningful. So here you see the entire range of emissions from cars only. So that's the full range of gasoline vehicle emissions and diesel vehicle emissions in in all scenarios, plenty of them.
Yeah, that's very nice. Let's put it this way is even better.